The movers and shakers and policymakers making their way to Mackinac. And they're not just there for the fudge. They're talking important legislation at the annual policy conference. And Fox 2's Roop Raj is there, someone who hasn't had time to enjoy the fudge quite yet, Roop.
No, in fact, anyone who's watched this, who's a friend of mine, they're texting actually and saying, don't forget to bring us back fudge. I said, I'd just like to get some lunch at some point here. And it's already way past dinner. But I'll tell you what, the biggest thing that's going on here, as you say, the movers and shakers, they're busy going from room to room inside of Mackinac. And the reason they're doing that is because there are important policies that business people and politicians are bumping into each other, sometimes organically on the streets of Mackinac to say, hey, what about this idea? What about this initiative? And it's interesting because some of the big stories that are happening right here on the island have to do with the people who are coming from Washington to tell the story of how Michigan could be affected by legislation that they're trying to pass in D.C. Senator Alyssa Slotkin and Congresswoman Haley Stevens talking about bipartisan legislation to make sure that Chinese EV car companies can't just dump cars here for two reasons. One, it's bad for our security, our cybersecurity, because those cars can take pictures of sensitive places all across the country, but also because of our economy. Take a listen.
Everyone says, like, American cars collect the same information. Yes, but they're also American companies that are subject to American law. The Chinese Communist Party is not. And again, they cheat. They subsidize their cars so that they're super cheap. They come into a market like Michigan. They undersell everybody and destroy the local industry. And we've got 500,000 jobs here in Michigan with the auto industry.
We've got to push on these bills and wake up our colleagues across the country to the needs of the industrial Midwest, to the Michigan manufacturing moment that we find ourselves in. So goes Michigan, so goes the country. And so I feel very optimistic about driving in this point.
I talked to both Senator Slotkin and Congresswoman Haley Stevens. Hey, do you really think that this is going to be a viable bill? You're trying to pass a bill to ban these, Chinese EVs from being sold on the streets of Michigan and all over America. And they both told me that they're optimistic because so many Republicans also agree with them. They believe it's a good bipartisan effort. More of these types of conversations and meetings are happening tomorrow here on Mackinac. And tomorrow I'm actually interviewing Speaker Matt Hall and also Governor Gretchen Whitmer, two people who actually went all the way to the White House to ask President Trump to help with funding for Selfridge. And guess what? Today, more than $150 million was signed into law to go to Selfridge to make sure that that place is funded for future missions.